Yes, we are ready to go, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the April 20, 2020 Olivette City Council meeting by Zoom due to the COVID-19 pandemic we're on. Madam Clerk, please do roll call.
Okay.
Councilmember Carl.
Here.
He said here, I think.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
He said
Here.
I can't hear anybody.
because I have to turn it down when you.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Weil.
Here.
Chairman Springer.
Here.
Mayor.
Here. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, next on the agenda is communications. And before we go to communications, last year I got a beautiful bouquet of flowers from my wife from becoming the mayor. And somehow, some way, my wife brought me a box that a police officer dropped off at my doorstep a few minutes before the meeting. I have another lovely bouquet and a basket of flowers. They smell wonderful. There was not a card in them. So I'm going to assume this was a move by the staff and city council. So I will say thank you very much. It smells lovely. All right, next communications, Madam Clerk. If there are any communications, ma'am, that you are aware of that are on the web or anything, waving their hand, Barb and Madam Clerk, please speak up.
No, Mayor.
Okay, then we will go on to item number 3, which is the city manager's report. Ms. Sunday.
Okay. Thank you. I am gonna start with actually just a couple of things here. One of the big news is that we have a new event. It's Run for the Front Line. It is a virtual run walk with the goal of raising money to provide meals for our local healthcare heroes at Barnes-Jewish West County. You might know Barnes-Jewish West County, recognize that they have been they were a founding sponsor of the Olivette Turkey Trot, and they have sponsored us for 6 years and continue to be a great supporter of that event. And the idea was, well, why not give back to them at this time, at this crazy time? So this is the Olivette on the website. It's actually on the front page. Then the front page can get you to here. It tells you what to do. It gives you a FAQs for just finding out what is a virtual run. And essentially a virtual run is where you sign up. And it's for a $10 donation. You sign up. You will receive a bib, a racer bib that you can print up. You can put your name on it, do whatever. You then choose your route, and you'll see that on the web page we have several different examples, and I believe we have more examples coming in shortly. Choose your route, you choose your day, you choose, the time of the day. When do you want to do your walk? When do you want to do your run? You do it, you time yourself, and then you upload your time to your Athlinks race page. It is a fun way to both kind of still get out there. A lot of people are out there right now walking and running. Maybe they haven't been doing that for a while. And we have a lot of people who are picking it back up because it's because of the stress. And the best part about this is you get to help a great cause. You don't have to worry about weather. You don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to get up bright and early on a cold day. And so we're really we're excited. It's the first time we've done anything like this. And in fact, if you were watching this web page at all yesterday, you saw it change from about 8 a.m. to about noon when we realized, oh wait, that's how they do that. And so it's just, it'll be a fun event. We're seeing how much money we can raise. And the other part about the meals for the healthcare workers is those meals are purchased locally from the area. And we all know that restaurants are hit particularly hard at this time. And so so it's kind of a double win, really. So that's kind of one of the bigger news things that we have. And now let me move this out of the way and see what else. I think with that, the other thing that I want to make people aware of is, again, I'm going to go back to the agenda for tonight. And these are our department reports, okay? And I just want to remind people that there's really a lot of information in here. If you're wondering kind of, what's going on, what's happening, what our department's doing during this kind of crazy time, this is really where you can find that out. If you're wondering about different developments or different things, go to the Planning and Community Development page. Gives you a lot of information, gives you an idea of, well, how many inspections are we doing, that type of information. There's a lot of good information. The Park and Recreation page, we have a new horticulturist, and actually this is Brian Azcona. How do you pronounce it, Denise? Do you know? Azcona. Okay. He began with us. His first day was kind of the last day we were in the office. I think the first day we were all working from home, but he started with us, and he has been just, if you have gone to any of the parks, you will see that he has been really working in all the parks, putting in a lot of, trying to get a little color in our parks, trying to, again, working with a lot of our volunteers with the removal of the invasives, and creating a plan. You can see his spring plantings that he's done so far, and so it's been really great. And he's meeting a lot of the residents because he's in the parks, and I said he's going to be one of the first employees. He's not going to know any of his co-workers, but he's going to know more residents than the rest of us because he's he's out with them. Again, we think we talked about the virtual community center page at our last meeting 2 weeks ago. Again, just an update on that. And so again, I just want people to know that these are there, and they really have a lot of good information in them. And then we will just kind of go to the
Hey, Barb.
yeah.
As far as our virtual community center, I know that the PBS NewsHour is running what people are doing during the pandemic to stay active at home. I don't know if somebody wants to just make a mention of that, maybe on their site, so that perhaps we get some, national recognition for it. I don't know if it's.
Yeah, well, it was, what was the?
PBS NewsHour.
PBS NewsHour? Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Because, yeah, I'm actually thinking, as far as we know, this is really the only virtual community center in the state, as far as we're aware. And so we're looking at putting it up for a couple different awards through the municipal leagues and things. So tomorrow night we have our first community forum for Prop C. The information for how to, it will be a Zoom webinar, and the information for how to either attend via your computer or via the telephone is online. So we encourage people to go there. We then have a City Council work session on May 5th. A coffee with the mayor, again, that's going to be a Zoom webinar May 6th at 8:45 a.m. Planning Commission is May 7th at 7 p.m. And the second community forum is for Prop C is, and I don't have the date in there, it's May 14th at 7 p.m. And then we'll have two more forums as we get into closer to that June 2nd election. And so the format of those forums is going to be a little bit of an introduction, a presentation, and then questions and answers. And on June 1st, we're going to have solely a question and answer over a 2-hour period. If people have a question, they can just call in or to ask. And so that'll be the kind of the format of that. We're really just trying to answer people's questions, tell people, show people what the improvements are, and make them as informed as possible when they go to vote on June 2nd, or prior to, before they vote via absentee. And with that, I'd like to just take 1 second as well to talk about city operations and during this time of COVID. The city continues to provide the services. We've been doing it a little differently. We've talked about that now at the last couple of meetings. We do anticipate the sales tax revenue will be impacted because of the closures of stores and such. We've been communicating, I think, that with the council. We've been talking as staff. For this, our fiscal year ends June 30th. And what we've done is we've started just kind of doing what you do if you think the revenues are going to be a little tight. You stop doing some of those things that are maybe the extras. So we've stopped some of the trainings and some of the conferences, although a lot of those conferences were also, they were canceled anyway. We've started looking, closely at what we're spending. We're starting to, we're looking at, we always do, but we look a little more closely at these times. And so I'm anticipating that we're gonna be able to close out this fiscal year, hopefully close to a balanced budget. We may be, and we've talked with the council about that, we may be a little bit over not because of over in expenditures, but our revenue might be just a little bit down. But I think we have the ability and the opportunity to be balanced at the end on June 30th. We're in the middle of our budget, creating our budget for FY21. And again, uncertain times, nobody kind of knows exactly what might happen. But because of the good financial policies we have in place, and because of where we're at and able to, in this budget process, kind of look ahead and think about, well, what can we do? What should we not do? Where should we be putting our investment? Those types of things. I think we're going to end up being pretty good. I anticipate we'll probably need to use, we'll be requesting of the council, some of our fund balance, our reserve. But this is exactly why you have a reserve. You have a reserve for when you have these unexpected interruptions. Either, and in this case, it's an interruption of businesses. It could be some other thing that we have, but in this case, that's what it is. And so I think we have the policies in place, the reserve, so we can use some of our reserve, we can use some of our savings, if you will, to get us through this hump. And I think we're going to come out on the other side still looking very good. Again, we have the reserve policy in place that requires us to keep 50% of our operating funds in reserve. We're not going to go below that by any means at this point. And it also requires that we look out 5 years and we try to have 75% of operating. And I think we're going to be, if we don't make that, we'll be very close. But our goal is to work together as a team and to to end up so that we stay on the positive side of our reserve policy. So I think it's a challenge that I think the city at this point in time is very ready for and prepared for. I think we've worked to prepare ourselves for this. And so while there will always be uncertainties because we don't know the future, I think that I do believe that we're in a good place right now. And as always, if any of that changes, and you're going to hear Darren's financial report later in a little bit, if any of that changes, we'll be talking about that and we'll be working it through at these types of meetings. And Mayor, that's really all I have. There is a question that was asked. Oh, I can wait until public comment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did see that question up on the screen. Before we move, thank you, Ms. Sondak, for your report and for the explanation to the community as well as back to the council with regards to the functioning of our city while we're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. A couple things that I want to identify. Typically, we'll go into those documents under the planning, police, public fire, parks and rec. And there is one under the fire department that I would like to acknowledge. The Woodard and ServPro are two cleaning and restoration services in St. Louis that have been taking turns coming in to sanitize the fire department and the living quarters. And if I read things correctly, please forgive me if I'm wrong. I believe that they are doing these services at no charge to the city and that they are also doing this with the police department's equipment and vehicles as well. So kudos, thank you very much to Woodard and ServPro too.
Great. Yes, you are correct, Mayor, that they are doing that as a free service.
All right, thank you very much. Item number 3A is staff reports, and we kind of, Ms. Sondag went over that. That's online to be able to address and go look at and read and review. Item number 4 are city council reports. I will go to my Chairman Pro Tem. Do you have any reports with regards to summarizing to the council?
Mayor, only that I'm working with both the city manager and the director of the Parks and Recreation to put together the presentation for tomorrow night and for the subsequent Prop C forums. And, you know, we're just getting it all ready so that it can be the most informative that it can be.
Question on that?
Go ahead.
I believe you wanted us to attend if possible. Are we going to be participants or audience?
Yeah, everyone will sign in as the as an attendee,
Okay,
and then at the end we can move over people to during the question and answer portion. We can move people as to panelists so that you'll be able to speak.
all right. So we should sign in as an attendee, and then if we want to say something, we would raise our hand, basically.
Correct, but we're taking most of we're actually only going to take, because of the format of the webinar, we're going to take questions at the end, and prior to taking questions, we will move the council over to panelists. So you don't need to raise your hand to say something. You'll be a panelist at that point.
Now,
Okay.
Can I ask a question though? I thought we had discussed that they would actually be on the screen initially too.
Okay.
Before we kicked off, that everybody.
You were going to introduce people. That's correct.
I was going to introduce everybody. So where'd Greg go?
I'm here.
Okay. So you should be prepared in the very beginning to be on the screen.
Mhm.
I'm going to introduce everyone who's from the city council, that sort of thing, kick it off, and then all the faces will disappear and we'll go through the program, and then everyone will reappear during the question and answer period. Okay. So if Barb has to send us a different sort of link to be.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay. Then we're all good.
Okay.
All right. I will move to my next slide and go to Councilmember Maxine Weil.
So last night was the first, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so last night was the first Zoom Park and Recreation Commission meeting, and it went really well. The Parks has been doing an outstanding job with keeping the parks open with the walking trails and keeping everything up to date and making some progress. They've been rotating the staff so that there's only one person per truck. They're alternating their schedules so that they're observing the social distancing that's necessary. I will say that I've been in the parks walking a lot over the past few weeks, and I think that people are so thrilled that our parks are still open for the walking and the riding of bicycles and everything, that people are even more courteous than they were like the first week out into the social distancing. Much more cognizant to make sure they're spacing themselves out. The staff has just been incredible. Right now, all the programs at the community center have been discontinued. So they've transferred everything onto this virtual community center website that Barb made reference to, or Greg did. It's an amazing website, so if you haven't had a chance to check it out, there's sharing of ideas with families and residents, and there's really something for all ages, because we have seniors that come up during the day when the kids are in school normally to do aerobics classes and Zumba, and there really is, if you go to the virtual community center page, it's amazing. As for camp, we are anticipating holding camp, but we're needing to hang in there and be flexible still. We're waiting on some final rulings from the CDC and the state. And but if we move forward with camp, which is our anticipation, we will have special training for the staff, because everything about camp will look very different. But it will give us an opportunity to really focus on more programming, which is really exciting. So we would do special training for the staff. The groups of children would be in groups of 8 to 10. We would do a curbside drop off and pickup. We would need to cancel field trips, but there's so many incredible opportunities that can be done within done at camps within these rooms, and it really it'll be a challenge, but an exciting one, and it would be great for everyone if we can keep the camps open. So we'll keep people, informed on that. But parents have continued to register and not try and ask for refunds at this point, which is exciting. As for Prop C, I think that you've heard some about it, and you'll hear more about it as the night goes on. And I hope to see everyone at the information meetings. Any questions?
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions of Councilmember Weil?
Councilmember Wow, are you suggesting that the COVID-19 virus has made people nicer?
That's great.
Depends where you live. No, I think I think people are just being more cognizant in the parks, because they've seen and even in the community. I think that people are doing the social distancing, they're wearing their masks, but when you have the runners and the cyclists and the walkers, I think people are much more cognizant than they were that first week out than they had been originally. And I think the signage with where it has the person and all the arrows for the 6 feet, very much so. And
Thank you for the clarification.
so,
If I may,
has it made you nicer, Sydney?
It's not a chance.
if I may, I'd like to share an observation that my daughter-in-law made. 8 weeks ago, if someone had crossed the street while you were walking towards them, that behavior at best would have been thought to be rude or somewhat socially bizarre. Today, when someone crosses the street while you're walking towards them, you thank them and wave at them. That is where we are in life today. It is remarkable how that behavior has changed.
And that's what I'm seeing throughout Olivette.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I see when I'm walking on Old Bonham.
All right. Councilmember Carl?
I have attended no meetings to report.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Sidney Clark?
I have not attended any meetings to report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, with that, I will give my little report. We did have planning zoning meeting the other day, and I'm scrambling to get to my phone to deal with my notes. There were people that did participate in the Planning and Community Design Commission meeting of April 16th. Discussions were with regard to the Olivette Gateway Center, which is now Olive Crossing. Another item that was discussed was the city center redevelopment area. With regards to the final plot that will be considered tonight. There was a conversation and discussion with regards to the Ridge House project. A citizen and resident of that neighborhood came, presented themselves into the Zoom meeting and had some questions and had his questions answered. So basically at this point, a lot of things are moving forward with regards to the items with the city, with Olivette. At the April 16th meeting, again, a new home at 12 Forsythia was discussed. Amendments to additions to 9 Bond Price Lane, final subdivision plot for the city center development, final subdivision plot for the Olive Crossing subdivision. Action was deferred on Firestone redevelopment plans. They are seeking a change in their plan. The next meeting, as indicated by the city manager, is set for May 7th. And current items under review include the amendment to the approved plans for Firestone, new home proposals for 4449 Bullwood Court and 1152 Hilltop, and an addition at 709 Mansfield. And that is basically what is going on with your very important Planning and Community Design Commission body and board. Is there any questions of me?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And to my council members, yes, I have my video now on an individual camera where whoever's speaking is the person I see. So yes, I am, with that setting, I'm able to see everybody. So it is a pleasure to see each and every one of you. I do miss you. And with that, we will move on to item number 5, which is the monthly finance report by Mr. Darren Mann. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you all, Mayor as well, and the rest of the council here. We do have our monthly financial report through the end of March tonight, and we have a couple new ads in here. But for the most part, if we start at the page 1, just has our boilerplate redo on our on the reporting itself, kind of explain it. Keep that there till the end of the year. Page 2 overall. General fund revenues, they did end $218,000 below where we had expected for the year. And then on the expenditure side, they are also down $172,761. That creates an unfavorable variance at $45,828. So everyone's curious, about where things are end up and what we're going to do. Unfortunately, we won't see much here tonight. This is, again, till the end of March, and usually because of the lag of what we see, even though things were kind of winding down toward the end of March, we don't see much here. Overall, if we go back to that revenue side there, again, this is still is on page 2. The sales taxes and utility taxes are slower. The sales taxes have made up some ground as we come through here. This is kind of one of those times when we do have some advanced knowledge. Obviously, it's almost the end of April, so we do have quite a bit of advanced knowledge of what happened in April. April ends up being our best sales tax month ever of that 7 or 8 years that we've ever recorded. So we'll get to see what that looks like in a couple weeks. So it's not reflective of what's going on broader in the economy. It's more one of the things we've said, maybe some economic things in there, but it's a little bit of timing of when these things get returned, when they get processed at that state level. But in any case, then the property taxes, they're still in a holding pattern. They're steady because of where the protests sit. We expect those by the end of the year. And then that'll be at 100% of our expectations. Utility taxes also slow. The electric gross receipts are one of the main sticking points there, along with the landline and cellular phone gross receipts. That's nothing new. Below that, when we go down and look, and we'll go there in just a second, is what we call this remainder category, and that will come into play here in a little bit. The expense side of this, I will say, is you won't get much news out of me as far as where you're going to see or expect or where we're going to see. I'll tell you the variances, but most of the direction, as we heard earlier, will come, from the city manager. That's where that's the channel where those things will be come from as far as where the operations are heading. From there, we're looking right there at our reserve policy. At the bottom right green right there is 3.06 million. That's where we sit as far as our policy is concerned. So you can see we're well within that policy itself at that 1 year, which is 50% of our current year, or FY20 in this case is expenditures. So that's good. That's in compliance, and we're okay there. We do have our dashboard reintroduced. I went back and forth on how to redo this, and sometimes the way you were doing it before is just great. So it looks the same as it did before. Same numbers, same format. And I will say it's a little easier to create now with our new software, but at the same time, this is where this stands. For reference, I think 9 months out of the year, where we're at in March is 75% of the year. So if you want to do your math here or there, I won't explain too much of where they go. I can redo these as far to get more like sales tax versus property tax. But this is the order that we see all of our other reports in, with general fund, capital improvement, stormwater, parks, tax, and then fire operations on down. And that's why those are there like that. We can do that. I did introduce now this month a chart of the month. Here's the one we've talked about, electric gross receipts. And it's kind of hard to look at this, but this is for almost all our revenue sources. This is the internal look. Here's what we can see just to chart it out. You add the number and it shows you something. Not often does it mean anything to you, but in this case, you see this bright green bottom. Green is at the bottom of the list right there where the mouse cursor is, and also the very bottom of this 7-year trend line. So this is why we're facing some of our negative variances. I didn't see that coming. That every single month is the lowest month we've seen almost of any of these. Now, it was not the hottest summer in the world, but also what this has more to do with is some energy prices and also a rate cut. So 5% rate cut as a result of the tax cut measure, the TG tax and jobs cuts for America. Oh, I'm sorry. Either way, that's what it was. We talked about it at the council level. I think it was there was support for it at the council level there, and so this is a little bit of the result of that, and that's a budgeting mistake. I just didn't see that coming. There's also weather-related stuff that goes in there. So that's what's kind of plagued us, and that's a good chart to show what we can see. If we have any requests for those kinds of charts, let me know about what we wanted to look at or curiosity. This one was brought up because I think the mayor asked, tell me about these electric gross receipts, and so this tells the story pretty good. We can go on to the next page, page 4, and I'll kind of reiterate some of those things. This is our revenues by those revenue types. The sales tax, property tax, utility taxes. In general, they take up about 75% of our revenues, and there's the ones we talk the most about. And you can see some of where those variances are. If we're really curious, we can go down to page, I think it starts on page 13, but for all practical purposes, we can kind of see if we're curious, we'll go down. But 100,000 of this utility tax, which is that third line, and then 163,000 in the far right column, is from the electric gross receipts, 100 of that. The other, almost the entire rest of that 60 is from landline and cell phone gross receipts. I thought we'd hit a plateau and we didn't, and it kind of bottomed out. Below that line, where it starts with Parks and Recreation, is what we would refer to during our budgeting when we look at our graphs through the CAFR. Well, just a little bit, where it says Parks, up a little bit, please. And we might be just on a hair of a delay there.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The Parks and Recreation on down, court, medical, transport fees, that's what we call a remainder category. And a lot of these fall into categories of charges for services. And those are ones that are a little different in how quickly we see them. And that's important right now because this is where we'll see some of our biggest hit the quickest. They're direct interactions with the public. We have to usually see somebody to get these things. The exception there is that medical transport fees. There's actually about 3 to 6 month delay in getting in receiving any money for medical transport, and it goes a little bit quicker than that sometimes, but it's not an instantaneous. If we have half as many calls in 1 month, we won't see that it'll be spread out over 6 months or so. But with our court, obviously, Parks and Recreation, these are registrations, licenses, permits, who's coming in here to get a permit, who's paying for a permit, who's turning their licenses. And then the investment income, we'll see those pretty quickly be affected by what's happening broader economically, but that happens pretty quickly. So I think the summary here is, here's where we'll see it first in these kind of categories. They're from Parks and Rec and on down. Anything good or bad here that we've seen in March was going to be good or bad no matter kind of what happened. We might have seen a little bit of some hit there, here and there at the very end of March, but it's nothing that we're going to see that's report to make any difference. So I don't know if that brings up any questions, but that's what we'll expect to see. We just talked about April. Sales tax is going to be great. Property taxes for April, we didn't receive much. We'll see a big bump when we hit our protest. Utility taxes will probably hold that course where they're at right now. It's utility usage for us and all of that. We don't have a huge commercial, like a bottling plant or something like that that's using a whole bunch of water or electricity or anything like that. I could be wrong on some of those things about what uses electricity, but for the most part, it seems like everything's kind of remained operational as far as big industry. For us, let's see, I have a couple more notes here. Oh, I just went over them all. Yeah, I will. The only thing I would say is that we can't see these, where we're seeing the variances in our expenditures, and they're right there in that 5,000 category. I would expect to see most of these numbers grow in that far right column. The personnel costs will remain somewhat steady as far as the variances are concerned, but the rest of that stuff, those are things, pretty much the 5,300 on down, those are things we have control over. You see there's not much of that percentage, but you will see those grow, and that's where we do what we can when it comes to those things. From there on, it goes into page 4s and 5s. You can see the same kind of activity repeating itself in that capital improvement fund, which is on page 6. You can see that same thing again on page 8 in the stormwater parks fund. So with that, without going on, very much longer than I have been, a little bit longer than I expect as always. So I'm sorry about that. But if we have any questions, let me know, or if you have any requests for additional charts and graphs, we can do that too.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. Never apologize for the fact that you're going over information and making things a little bit easier for people to understand, including the city council. There's no need to apologize. So appreciate what you do. To my fellow peers, council member, does anyone have any questions of Mr. Mann?
I do.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mann or city manager, are we tracking very carefully our expenses, any expenses that we have for COVID? And if so, where are we putting them? Do we have some special line for them? Because it's my understanding that the county is looking to be able to reimburse us for those expenses.
Outside of SEMA and FEMA, separately?
Yeah.
Okay.
The city has the county has like $170 million that needs to go to reimburse for those expenses.
Sure. Yeah. One of the really great things about having, I know we talked about this last month even more, or maybe a month or two ago, but one of the great things about our new software, which we'll see more of it when the land management, the permitting side of it comes online here soon, the more the public side, but the back end side of this has allowed us to work from home pretty much seamlessly. But at the same time, it's also allowed us to add features, I guess, or they call them like a segment or something you want to capture. And I was actually able to put in a code of just a checkbox for COVID-19, and it took about 15 minutes. And now it's on all of our bills that apply. It comes at that line level. So yes, we are. I don't have amounts offhand. I did look at it briefly. It's not. It's like a lot of things. It depends on what you consider a cost. So there's obviously some direct costs, but some of the way our payroll and the way we're paying folks is it's different than it was before. Now, is that a cost? I don't know. Is that a protection measure? It, you know, certainly, but that's, we're really not sure, but we have thought that through from now. And so it's not a go back and look. It's we can get the information very quickly if there's a parameter that we need to see, or a style of expenditure that they'd like to see that we'd be able to get reimbursed for.
Okay.
The majority of those
I think it would be harder, but I wonder, is there any way for us to track savings we might have had too, because we did less?
It is difficult to sometimes to prove that negative.
Yeah, I know.
And actually, we've had some good conversation about that, about how do you prove that? Excuse me. Okay. So it's been, a lot of the expenditures have tended to be with, PPE equipment, cleaning equipment, those types of, or cleaning supplies, those types of things. As far as, with regard to even the staffing changes, we're using minimum manning for police and fire, but we're still paying the person who's not off or who's not working. But that's probably not going to be a reimbursable expense. Had a conversation today with some other city managers, and I think everybody's kind of in the same boat. This is for a lot of municipalities, the increase in expenditures happen more at that county or the bigger city level, where they have their own public health department and they're doing a lot of expenditures for that, and some of those other things. But so our expenditures actually tend to be somewhat minimal, but on the scheme of things, but they're definitely worth tracking, and in hopes that there would be some reimbursement.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we'll move to item number 6, which is a quarterly investment report with Mr. Mann.
Good. Thanks once again. We do have our quarterly investment report, fairly non-eventful. I do anticipate that the cash needs are stable, same as where we would have talked about 3 months ago. All the 3 maturities that were there have been reinvested. Unfortunately, reflecting market conditions at 0.85 or 1.2, 1.4% lower than the ones that were rolling off. And so it leaves our weighted average yield to maturity at 1.7 versus 0.17 for the T-bill. So not a big mark to beat right now. And at the same time, it's that's part of that weighted average yield to maturity is part of the investment policy itself. So it kind of gives you a gauge of how we're doing. We struggled when rates were good, and now we're beating better. One of the plus of this we don't really see here. While we're right here, this is the first report that we've had. All of our activity has now moved to Commerce Capital Markets. We were in a transition period between FTN, or now called FHN, and we moved to Commerce, I want to say about a year and a half ago, and now we see this is our first report with all commerce activity, so just one statement this time. I think it's been a good move for us, and we did re-up in April, which is not, of course, not on here because this is to the end of in March, but the market was much different obviously in April than it was by the end of March when we had agreed to purchase that settlement there in the gray. We did re-up in April at 1.2%. So that's good. That's promising news. It does help when we look at our budgeting for the next year. Obviously, all of these right here are going to be rolling off in the next fiscal year. So any dollar we get right here is what we can budget for FY21. And so I had anticipated a little bit lower. Of course, it can go lower, but that 1-year CD market we seems to be holding strong as far as figures go. If you notice, that 1.2 we did in April is higher than what we did at the end of March right there. The end of March was a kind of a low point for everybody's thinking, but we did that before most of the closures were announced, we had agreed to for that settlement at 325 there. So with that, I don't have anything else to add. If you have any questions, let me know. There's a weird safekeeping issue there on the delivery. Didn't make the statement, and so when we buy these, they are actually our CDs, and we just hire Commerce Bank to hold them in safekeeping with our name on them, so that if the bank goes under at Berkshire Bank and out of Pittsfield, it will Commerce Bank hands that stuff over to the FDIC on our behalf and gives us the money back. That's kind of how that safekeeping works. But one of the bad sides of that is they don't have it in their system yet until 4/1. So it created a strange anomaly on the statement because the statement didn't match our maturity we had. So that's why it's listed like that.
Was that all, Mr. Mann?
That's it. I'm sorry. Yep. I said
That's
I was
right.
done and then I kept going.
That's all right, young man. Are there any questions to Mr. Mann from the City Council with regards to the quarterly investment report?
I just have one question. Do we have any additional funds we're going to add to that over the course of the year, or we're just going to keep rolling this off and ladder?
That was actually a thought I just had. This would be a great time to introduce that, but then I kept going once. I didn't want to keep going twice. Yeah. One of the things, the opportunity we have here is is the 3 tiers of investments we have based on liquidity is just raw cash that we have sitting at in a repo sweep, and then we have another pretty good sizable chunk of money sitting in that ICS funds, which is kind of acts like a money market. And then we have these that are tied up for at the 12-month lengths of time that are come off every month at 250. What we can do is add another kind of like rungs of the ladder, but they're not every single month. This one, if you imagine this as a ladder, 245, 245, 249, 9, 245, you kind of climb it up. The secondary ladder looks like you would do one in like April, and then you do one in July. So you get this like other secondary ladder where the primaries come on. That would be an opportunity. We're getting 1.1% now versus 1% on that ICS fund. So you stand an opportunity to gain a whole percentage point to 100 basis points just by investing it for those 12 months. And so that's maybe something I'll introduce or talk about in that next in our next council reports. I'll do the monthly financial report so that we can get a better visual together of what that looks like and what that means. But yes, that's a very good idea.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to item number 7, which is hearing from citizens. And Ms. Sondag, I'm going to question and A's are gone already. They were answered already?
We had 2 questions. One was the status of the apartment building at the city center area, the old fire department, et cetera. And I said that was going to be later on the agenda. We would talk about that when we talked about the plat. And the other was looking for latest information on the city center redevelopment. And again, I directed them also to the city website that has the information specifically on that, as well as where the department reports are. So I did answer those two questions. However, I do have the participants up, and if one would like to participate, you can raise your hand or
Write the question.
right, or do a question and answer. I will allow people to speak, and if they had something, they can just need to.
Okay, we'll give about 15 more seconds to see if you're getting anything.
Just unmuting some folks, and so if they are interested in speaking. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are attendees that are names that I am not familiar with, and that's a good thing. So again, if you have any questions, now is the time to go ahead and raise your hand or type in your question.
Okay.
All righty, we will move on. Thank you very much. The next item is item number 8, bill number 2923. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Good. Oh, hold on. I have you muted, I think. Okay.
Item number 8, bill number 2923, an ordinance to amend chapter 415 sign regulations, being part of Title 4 of the Olivet Municipal Code regarding the size, height, and number of construction and subdivision real estate signs. Second reading and public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is Carlos here? Carlos
Yes.
is in there. All
I'm
right.
here. Can you hear me?
All right. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Trejo, staff report, PCDC, March 19th, 2020. I'm going to go ahead and close the regular council and knock on my own table and open up public hearing for you to do your presentation. Boom, boom. It is all yours, Mr. Trejo.
Okay. All right. Good evening. My name is Carlos Trejo. I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development for the City of Olivette. And tonight I present to you the proposed text amendment to our sign ordinance, which would authorize the placement of what we term as construction and subdivision real estate signs on properties. The current ordinance requirements, these are the ones that are currently in the book, are outlined in our residential sign regulations. Residential sign regulations then apply for every zoning district thereafter. So whatever is permitted in a residential district would be permitted in a public activity district, which would be permitted in a commercial district up to an industrial district. It doesn't work the reverse way. What's permitted in light industrial is not permitted in a residential, but what's permitted in residential would be permitted in light industrial. Currently, in the residential districts, we permit a sign for advertisement of a construction or the subdivision of real estate to place up to a 32 square foot sign with a maximum height of 8 feet. That standard is applied across the board to all the other districts, including oversized residential, to commercial, to public activity, to light industrial. What this ordinance would do is create a tiered system to take into account some of the unique opportunities that we have on redevelopment along the Olive Boulevard corridor, in which there may be some merits in considering some larger signage, especially when you take into consideration some of the speeds of the corridor, some of the dimensions or sizes of some of these properties, or some of the topography that's involved. What this ordinance would do would create 2 tiers. First, for properties up to, I believe it's 120,000 square feet would be permitted. The current size requirements of 32 square feet with a maximum height of 8 to 12 feet, depending on how it is placed. And then would create a second tier of developments in excess of 120,000 square feet to be provided an opportunity to double the size of the sign square footage to 64 square feet, and also maintain a height of up to 12 feet in there. And finally, there would be an opportunity to request what we would term as a variation for someone to request some larger signage in which the commission can consider some unique attributes or components of the property that are involved. Best example, as was presented at our last meeting, was the Olive Crossing sign, which the petitioner has put up at our request for visual. And you can see the size of the sign in comparison to the overall development area, especially now that the property has been fully cleared except for the office max structure. And you can see it's like a huge cake pan with one candle. But But it takes into consideration that this lot is larger, that the speeds and volumes on Olive are greater, and also on 170. So in essence, again, the intent of this ordinance is to provide some flexibility in our sign ordinance as it goes to construction and subdivision real estate signs. Again, it expands on the current 32 square footage that is already permitted within our ordinance. It allows for a doubling, and this application could happen on a larger property in a residential district. And somebody could make a request to the commission for a consideration of a larger signage in a residential district beyond those parameters that are listed in the ordinance. But again, it's all based on tying it to some aspect of uniqueness of the property, whether it's size, topography, visibility, or speed along the corridor, and all that. So I think this ordinance will give us again much more flexibility and opportunities for being excited about the type of developments that we're getting in the community. Be glad to answer any questions there.
Thank you very much. Ms. Sondak, can you go back to that? Go down. You're going up on me now. Go down. Stop. Mr. Trejo, I just want to double check something under B, Roman numeral 4, IV, number of development entry, number of per development entry is 1 sign. So the sign that would have that larger measurable, there's only 1 sign allowed. Is that correct?
That would be authorized administratively in the code, yes.
Okay.
But consider subparagraph C that would provide a property owner the opportunity to request an additional sign, but that would be subject to the review of the commission.
Thank you very much for that clarification. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Is there anybody else that has a question with, well, hold on. Let me stop for a minute. We are in the public hearing process of this, and right now I don't see anybody has created any questions with regard to this matter from the public. So having noted that I don't see the public putting any questions or information in, I will ask Ms. Sondag if she's seeing anybody raising their hand.
No.
Okay, very good. I will then ask another question, Mr. Trejo. Before I go to my fellow council members or Mr. Martin, is there anything that you want to identify that is supposed to publicly go into the record?
Yes, Mayor, there would be a couple of items. The staff report that's included in your packets and on the agenda links today. The bill as submitted, along with the City of Olivette's zoning code, which is part of Title IV of the Olivette Municipal Code, the city's 2006 strategic plan, and the presentation is set out tonight. Didn't think about that. I had to think about what information was provided, so I apologize for.
Don't apologize.
Confusion.
We're good. We're good. All right, I appreciate that. Before I go to my council or close the public hearing and go back to my council, I will ask Mr. Martin, sir, is there anything that you need to be putting on the record while we are in this public hearing process?
No, ma'am, I think it's fine. I'd bring to the council's attention, but you are aware that a few years ago, the United States Supreme Court issued a rather broad opinion about signs in local governments, and it looks like that opinion might be subject to some revision or some fine-tuning in the upcoming session. They've taken a case that might very well have some bearing on that question, so hopefully that'll clarify things for us a little bit. At this point, I think it's fine, and we should go ahead and move forward.
All right, thank you, sir, for your summary. And with that, I will close the public hearing of this, knock, knock, and I will go back to regular session and go to my fellow peers and council members. Do you all have any questions with regards to Bill 2923?
I do not.
None. I will then entertain a motion from my fellow council members.
Madam
Motion's
Mayor,
on the, go ahead.
okay.
The motion's on the screen.
I move that we recommend approval. That's not the right motion. That's the commission will consider a motion. That's the planning commission.
Yeah. All right.
All right, let me do it. I should be able to do this after all these years. I should be able to do this. I move that we approve bill number 2925, an ordinance.
23. That's okay.
2923, an ordinance to amend Chapter 415 sign regulations being part of Title 4 of the Olivette Municipal Code regarding the size, height, and number of construction and subdivision real estate signs.
I do have a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I will ask any further questions before we proceed to roll call. Go for the vote, Madam Clerk.
Am I good to go?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
She said yes.
Councilmember Carl,
I'm not sure where he is.
I haven't heard his voice yet.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Chairman Springer,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Hold on one second. I just promoted him back. Sorry about that.
He fell off the,
All right, so yes, I was trying to say yes.
Yes.
motion
I've,
passed.
I couldn't figure out where.
Motion passed by action of the Olivette City Council. Bill number 2923 becomes ordinance number 2696.
And that was ordinance number 2696. Is that correct?
What was the ordinance number?
2696.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, we will move on to item number 9, bill number 2924, an ordinance relocating a fire hydrant at the 585 block of Dillman Road, approximately 225 feet south to the northern property line of 555 Dillman Road. This would be a second reading, Madam Clerk.
Bill number 2924, an ordinance relocating a fire hydrant at the 585 block of Dillman, approximately 225 feet south to the northern property line of 555 Dillman Road. Second reading.
Mr. Trejo, is this yours, sir?
No.
Oh, okay, Ms. Sondag.
Well, this is pretty self-explanatory. We're moving the hydrant a little, about 225 feet south, and this is necessary for the Dillman Phase 2 road project.
Anybody have any questions with regard to this matter? Hearing none, I will seek a recommendation of action to approve this bill from my fellow council members.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve bill number 2924, an ordinance authorizing the relocation of one fire hydrant in the 585 block of Dillman Road, relocating the hydrant approximately 225 feet south to the northern property line of 555 Dillman Road of the city of Olivette, St. Louis County, Missouri.
Thank you. You have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
You're muted.
yes. Yes, yes,
Councilmember
yes.
Carl,
Yes, Barb, you're just
Council-
messing with people, aren't you?
what is that?
Just messing with people.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Chairman Springer,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed by action of the Olivette City Council. Bill number 2924 becomes ordinance number 2697.
Thank you very much. We will proceed on to item number 10, bill number 2925, an ordinance to amend section 140.010 and 140.030 of the Olivet Municipal Code relating to meetings by video conferencing. This is the
Can I get
second
some
reading.
tea?
Madam Clerk.
Can I get some tea?
Bill number 2925, an ordinance amending sections 140.010 and 140.030 of the Olivet Municipal Code relating to meetings by video conferencing. Second reading.
Is this Mr. Martin? Is this Ms. Sondag? Who's starting this one?
I will be.
Go ahead.
So we have had this ordinance up a couple different times. It was first, I think the council first started working on this in 2018. And we had limited opportunities to actually practice video conferencing. We did do it over the last couple of years. And then with COVID and the social distancing and the stay-at-home orders, we then had more of an opportunity. And so we amended the ordinance so that we could, so it didn't require a physical quorum to be present. And so we also opened it up to all the other boards and commissions. And we did that right at the beginning of the COVID-19. We then, the city attorney, Paul Martin, then also just made some suggested changes to the ordinance, mainly in light of kind of re-looking at it again. And now a lot of cities didn't even have a video conferencing, and with COVID they changed it. It got a lot more attention from attorneys for opinions on how you can do it, interpreting the statute. And so with that, that's what you have before you. Now, I want to make a couple of things clear. I had a couple conversations, and I just want to make a couple of things clear. Is that this isn't an emergency ordinance. This is a regular ordinance. We've always had a regular ordinance, meaning that it doesn't have it wasn't done for necessarily any emergency purposes. It doesn't have a sunset. It doesn't require there be an emergency of any type to utilize video conferencing. This ordinance, as it stands right now, does not require a quorum be physically present at the city hall, or at the location of the meeting, I should say, no matter where that location is physically said going to be. And so and that would go on until anytime in the future council would like to change that. And the other thing I want, it does not mean, and I don't think there is, and it clearly says in two different places in two different ways, that it's the policy of the city that members of city public government bodies should be physically present for meetings to best serve their constituents. But it doesn't limit people using video conferencing to just an emergency or some. What it says is, if you were going to have a normally unexcused absence, you could use video conferencing.
So,
So
just to clarify, you said a normally unexcused absence. I think
You mean yeah, right.
if you were going to have a normally excused absence, yeah, sorry. And then at the last point is, video conferencing should be used sparingly. Council may limit or terminate privilege of video conferencing for any member of a public body found to have abused that privilege. And again, I point these things out because I think while we have, over the last 6 weeks, we have found video conferencing, it absolutely enables us to continue to do the work that we're doing. And my gosh, I don't know what we'd do if we didn't have it. But it also I think we've also found that it's not the easiest way to be a participant in a meeting. And so with that, I think, I think we're going to have a new normal at the end of this. I think we will see video conferencing continuing on. I think it's a great way for public who can't come out to still be able to participate. And so I can, so looking at it not just from the side of the elected or the appointed official, but from the side of the resident themselves, I think that's true. However, again, and just to say, I think there still is I don't think we've moved to a point yet where residents would feel comfortable if we get past COVID, we're back to kind of where we have been, and council members don't physically show up for meetings when they're able to. I don't think they would like that, and I don't really have a concern that any council member or commissioner would do that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Do any of my fellow council members have any questions of Ms. Sondag with regard to this ordinance?
The only thing I want to say is I do appreciate the rewrite of the definition so it is more technology agnostic. So that whatever means, if it comes from quantum entanglement in the future, that we're not talking about computers and this and that and something else. So I do appreciate that.
And I would like to chime in. We do have, since this bill is amended, we do have to run through some hoops before we get to final consideration of it. And the first thing that needs to be done is we need to have a motion to amend Bill number 2925 by substituting Bill number 2925 as amended for Bill number 2925.
So moved.
Second,
Who did the second?
me.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
Was
that it?
We need a vote on it? No, ma'am, we need a vote.
So Madam Clerk, please take a vote on that particular motion, and then Mr. Martin will continue. The motion to amend 2925.
Yeah,
Please pull the.
she's taken the,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything. That's all right. That's from not seeing.
Councilmember Weil?
Yes.
Councilmember Carl?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Chairman Stringer?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passed.
And now, because we've amended the bill, the charter actually requires the same process that we would have for 2 readings on a single day. So we need a motion to set aside ordinary rules to permit final action on Bill number 2925 as amended.
So moved.
Second,
I believe that was Councilmember Carl and Springer?
yes.
Okay. And that's a motion to set aside ordinary rules.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Clerk, please pull the council.
Councilmember Weil?
Yes.
Councilmember Carl?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Chairman Stringer?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next, Mayor, we need to invite the public for any comment on the bill as amended.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will invite the public to provide any input comments with regards to the motion to set aside and with regard to this particular item. Any hands raising, Ms. Sondag? I don't see anything coming on my screen.
No,
All right.
I got them. I
Then,
answered.
all right. Then we will move forward and
Motion to
close
approve.
the. Okay, we'll go for a motion to approve. The set aside or the ordinance, Paul?
Motion to-
No, I think we're at motion to approve bill number 2925 as
All right.
amended.
Okay,
So
I
So
will take
moved.
that motion.
so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second,
Moved and seconded.
Everybody wants to do it.
Moved by Councilmember Carl and seconded by Councilmember Clark. Please poll the council if there's no further questions.
yes.
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 Motion passed by action of the Olivette City Council. Bill number 2925 becomes ordinance number 2698.
Ms. Sondag, please identify that new ordinance number clearer so it is on the record, clear and clean. It's been given a new ordinance number.
Right. What was your ordinance number?
2698.
Huh? 2698.
Okay, that became
Ordinance
ordinance number.
Bill number 2925 is amended, became ordinance 20, can you say it again? 2698.
Thank you very much. I wanted that clearly on the record. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are up to item number 11, which is the reorganization of the city council. I will turn this over to Ms. Sondag, and then we will proceed with our own actions. Do you want to do an intro, or we just go to Ms. Sondag?
This is the meeting where we typically have the by charter, the council, the mayor is chosen by the peers, by his or her peers, as is the chairman pro tem, and this is typically the meeting when that occurs. So we have several items of business. We will be the election of the mayor, the election of the chairman pro tem, recognition of the outgoing mayor. Oh, I have that date wrong, I think. That should have been 19 to 20. I apologize. I need to fix that. The election of the city treasurer, and then the assignments, and then the designation of the paper. So we will have the first will be the election of the mayor.
To my fellow council members, does anybody wish to elect somebody to be the next mayor of the city of Olivette?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to elect Ruth Springer as the next mayor of Olivette.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil.
Yes.
Councilmember Carl.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Chairman Springer.
I'm going to respectfully abstain.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by action of the Olivette City Council. Chairman pro tem Springer is elected to serve as mayor for the city of Olivette for 2020 to 2021.
Thank you, council.
You're very welcome. It's yours.
Okay, council, we need to elect a chairman pro tem for 2020 to 2021. Do I hear any nominations?
Madam Mayor, go ahead.
Go ahead, Missy.
You go ahead. Madam Mayor, I motion that we elect the Honorable Sidney Clark as the next chairman pro tem for the city of Olivette.
Second.
Please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil.
Yes.
Councilmember Carl.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes.
Chairman Clark.
I will abstain from it.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by action of the Olivette City Council. Councilmember Clark is elected to serve as chairman pro tem for the city of Olivette for 2020 to 2021.
Thank you very much, council.
You're welcome. We're looking for great things.
Do you want to do Denise, do you want to do the swearing in now? Or do you do it at the end? Okay, we'll do it after the recognition. Okay. I didn't have on here the swearing in of the mayor and the pro tem, but we'll do that after recognition of the outgoing mayor.
Okay. So it is always the responsibility and it's not really the job, it's the privilege of the incoming mayor to recognize the outgoing mayor. And I felt that after all this time, that it would be important, not only for me to say things about and for you, Missy, but I wanted the council to share their thoughts too. So council, if you are all ready, I am going to start with Councilmember Carl and ask him to share his thoughts with you.
I'm not muted, am I? No. Okay.
We should make a big picture of Missy in the middle.
I don't know if I can't do that.
No, we haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Missy, thank you for your passion for Olivette. It's obvious in everything you do for the city. It showed most recently in this last year that you've been mayor as well. It never seems to run out. I know you've been doing this longer than any of the rest of us, and so I do appreciate your longevity and the fact that you continue to have this passion. I believe the city is in a much better place for the service that you have provided over the years and in the last year as mayor. And I certainly hope you do as well. I could start naming off various achievements, but I think I'll just sum it up. And sometimes I'm seem a little focused on economic development, but I think we're in great shape there. And the reason I focus on that is not because it's the be all end all of everything, but because it is where we get much of our funds to do the work we need to do. Parks master plan, city street repair, those kinds of things. So while I don't want people to think I'm just in it to try to get the city more money, I want the city to have these things, and that's one of the ways to go about it. But I'm sorry, that was a little bit about me, but I think you are there. I think you get it, and you, I think you should be glad of where we are right now. Thank you.
Councilmember Weil.
Thank you.
Not loving doing this on Zoom, but got to do what we got to do. So Missy, I think you have the most swag of anyone I know for Olivette. Every shade of green, every holiday party appropriate dress wear. I don't think it matters whether you're a council member, a chairman pro tem, or the mayor. You always raise the bar for those around you. And this last year, you set high standards for yourself and those of us that work with you. And we are grateful not only for your passion, as Greg just mentioned, but also because when we work with you and when we vote on different issues, we always know where you stand. And you're true to your word and true to the city of Olivette. And we're very fortunate to have had you as the mayor this past year. And I want to just thank you for another great year under your leadership.
Thank you very much, Maxine.
Chairman Pro Tem Clark.
You know, I would like to say, first of all, thank you, Missy. You have been my Obi-Wan Kenobi in this new position. You have provided me such friendship and training that I so needed coming into this position. And I actually still need, and I'm so glad that you're there. So many people that I've met outside of our community and they ask, well, who's the mayor? And I'll say, Missy Waldman. Oh, I know Missy Waldman. Oh, she's something else. And you know, people say she's got more energy than a ball of plutonium. But, you know, it is an honor to serve with you. And it is so great to have someone on the council who leads with passion, because the best work that you can get out of someone is someone who's passionate about what they do. And you are truly passionate about what you do. and it shows in the results that we're getting in the city. Thank you so much, and I look forward to serving with you for a long time.
Thank you, Sydney. Thank you very much.
So Missy, good leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion. There is little doubt that you have helped create a vision for our city. There is certainly no doubt that you passionately own the vision. I don't think there is anyone who hasn't heard you say that you are all about development. And this year has shown that you are relentless in your drive to see the vision move forward at a pace that we've not seen before. It has been quite a year and quite a journey. I want to thank you for my part in that journey. Thank you for your service, not only to the city of Olivette, but to the council. You have offered each of us the wisdom of your experience, and that has been invaluable as the council has negotiated the issues of this past year. Thank you, Missy. It's been an amazing year. And as much as we would love to be able to hand you the plaque tonight, obviously we're all apart. And unfortunately, the store that would engrave your plaque has been closed due to COVID. But as soon as they are open, I know that will be a priority so that you can add it to the others that you have for all the years that you have served this community. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. I can't see myself. I don't know what's going on. But so when I was in Florida during my spring break, that really was a vacation that didn't give me the rest I needed because I came back. Did I buy something new and green? Yes, I did. And I was so waiting to be able to wear these to City Hall one night while we were sitting there, and I have my elegant green on, but oh well, no, so here we go. So that's the fun of it. Let me toss that to the back of the bed. You know, folks, you've all heard me say this, you know, it's been God-driven, it's Tanakh, but you've also heard me say, I can't do this alone. This is not something that was possible alone. It takes the entire council. So I, with your expressions of gratitude towards me, I have extreme gratitude for you, because without you, we couldn't be where we are today as well. That includes the leadership of who we hire, who we have in our positions at the city government and the city council and the people of Olivette. So it has been wonderful. You are absolutely right. I am all about development. That is me. I look forward to going back and having wonderful meetings this year and seeing the progress. It is hammer time. But again, I am so appreciative of all of you and what you bring to what is today in Olivette. It was an amazing year. And Ruth, you know, you're gonna soon be the president of the Municipal League for St. Louis County. We have many other things, important things to be dealing with, Wayfair, you know, law, legislation, so many things that are still at the top of our plate, including what you just summarized with Prop C and parks. You know, the city is very blessed that we're not going to be hurting. So it is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity and time to continue the progress that we all have established and accomplished together over the last year. So God bless you all. Thank you so much. I wish we could have smell-o-vision right now. Because the flowers that I've received are just as beautiful as the smelling of the flowers I received a year ago. So it is very beautiful. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to take my earpiece off. I'm going to go into the bathroom. I'm going to bring out the flowers and see what you all brought me. So hold on.
Why are the flowers in the bathroom?
These are questions we don't have.
They're soaking in the water.
Does it work? There we go. So here is the basket of flowers. I'm not good at this technology, folks. I'm really sorry. But here's the basket of flowers that you all provided to me tonight. And it's really, really very, very beautiful.
It is pretty.
Hi, Madam Mayor. I turn it back over to you. God bless you all.
Thank you. It is now time for us to, oh, do you want to swear us in?
I was gonna clap, but,
Oh.
okay, all right, all right, that's, all right. Now you get a sworn in.
We could give you a standing ovation, but you'd only see everybody's bellies.
Yeah.
Actually, we have real clothes on today.
You know, this is a first. This is a first.
Clothes on today.
Look at 'em. So all you have to do is talk.
Okay,
Anyone in the sit-
should I do the mayor or the,
Yeah, so they can see.
do the mayor first?
Sure.
Okay. Mayor, you ready to be sworn in?
Do I have to raise my right hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, I state your name,
I, Ruth Springer,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess all the qualifications
that I possess all the qualifications
prescribed by law for my office,
prescribed by law for my office,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Missouri,
and the state of Missouri,
the provisions of all laws of the state of Missouri affecting cities,
the provisions of all laws of the state of Missouri affecting cities,
and the ordinances of the city of Olivette,
and the ordinances of the city of Olivette,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I didn't mess up.
All right. Chairman Pro Tem, are you ready?
I am ready.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name,
I, Sidney Clark,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess all the qualifications prescribed by law for my office,
that I possess all the qualification as prescribed for this office,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Missouri,
and the state of Missouri,
the provisions of all laws of the state of Missouri
the provision of all laws for the state of Missouri
affecting cities,
affecting cities,
and the ordinances of the city of Olivette,
in the ordinance for the city of Olivette,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of this office.
Congratulations.
Hey.
All right. Next, we have the election of the city treasurer. And Mike Ferguson is willing to serve again.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to elect Mike Ferguson as the city treasurer for the city of Olivette.
Do you have a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Wild,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
We lost his picture. I don't know.
Yeah, you might want to move on.
okay, Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed by action of the Olivette City Council. Mr. Michael Ferguson is appointed to serve as city treasurer for the city of Olivette for 2020 through 2021.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the council liaison appointments. I'm just going to ask a broad brush question. Would everyone like to stay where they are with regard to both parks and recreation, economic development? Who has the zoning board of adjustment?
I do. And I'm fine with that.
Okay, the pension. Okay, pension board is me. The housing authority, I think, becomes me. Is that correct? The planning.
Yes.
Okay, the Planning and Community Design Commission, that's Missy. And the Personnel Board of Appeals, I believe, is also the mayor.
I believe it is supposed to be the mayor, yes.
I don't know if it's the mayor, but it's always been you. But we can, double check that. But it's been you.
Oh, really? I didn't realize it was me. It's only been convened once in my entire time.
I'm sorry. I was thinking the pension. No, Personnel Board of Appeals is the mayor. I'm sorry. I was thinking the pension.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has Sydney rejoined?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll work that out with him. I may ask him sometimes to step into housing authority if I cannot. So I'll have to work that out with you.
Otherwise, I would be interested in doing housing authority. I enjoyed my time on that.
Okay. All right. So if I need a substitute, I know where I can go. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. I will, can we do this as one broad thing then?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that that the city liaison to Parks and Recreation Commission is Maxine Wild, to the Economic Development Commission is Greg Carl, Zoning Board of Adjustment, Greg Carl, Pension Board of Trustees, the mayor, Housing Authority, the mayor, Planning and Community Design, Missy Waldman, Personnel Board of Appeals, the mayor. Did I get it right?
Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
You muted.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
Takes a while to get used to your new title. We now need to designate the official newspaper for the city.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to designate the Countian as the official newspaper for the city of Olivette.
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Is there anything else that we have to do in terms of reorg?
No.
Okay, item number 12.
Item number 12, bill number 2926, an ordinance to approve a final subdivision plat titled City Center Redevelopment. First reading and request for second reading.
Is this Mr. Trejo?
Yes, I'm just bringing him back on. And there he is. You're muted, Carlos. There you go.
I'm set.
Yep.
Good evening, Mayor Springer. My name is Carlos Trejo. I am the Director of Planning and Community Development with the City of Olivette, and tonight I present a Bill 2926, which is authorization to record a final subdivision plat for the area entitled the City Center Redevelopment. That area, of course, represents the 3 parcels that back in January 22nd, 2019, the council adopted what was then resolution 2019-164 that authorized the publication of a request for proposals to redevelop the former City Hall property at 9473 Olive, along with the 2 adjacent neighbors to the west. That was 9495 Olive, which was the former Timekeepers facility, and 9499 Olive, which was the vacated Jade Gardens restaurant. And then in April in 2019, the city selected Ridge House Capital to be the preferred developer. And then in December 5th, 2019, the commission approved the site plan, community design, and concept stormwater management plan for the development of a 4-story, 154-unit apartment complex with structured parking and a 3,500 square foot standalone commercial restaurant with surface parking on there. The presentation identified that the parking structure and the apartment complex would be placed on one parcel, and that the retail component, which is a restaurant, would have been placed in the second parcel. This plat to you tonight represents the subdividing of, well, the consolidation of the 3 original properties, and then re-subdividing those boundaries to create the 2 new properties, as illustrated in the plat that's in your packets, and they're for review. All this does, it is a legal instrument that authorizes the recording of the creation of these 2 new properties with the St. Louis County Recorder of Deeds, and then makes these 2 sites official. It is just the legal descriptions of the property boundaries. It is not anything associated with the redevelopment plans that have already been approved by the commission back in December. There are a couple of conditions that were noted as part of the approval process that were requested for the plat. One was for the cross-access easement to allow the lot 1 to enter the parking structure in lot 2. And secondly, a cross-access easement along the west property line that was a condition of the Plan Commission approval of the development plans that were in December. This is just a cross-access easement. In no way does that require that the easement be constructed or put in place by the developer. After hearing some concerns from the adjacent property at the Tower Hill condominium complex, the city backed off on requiring the developer to obtain access onto Tower Hill court. However, the easement will provide the city an opportunity, if so in the future, if conditions change, and it would also be reflective of the Olive Boulevard conceptual master plan in terms of encouraging consolidations and cross-access easements along properties abutting Olive. I'll be glad to answer any specific questions. In addition to what's been provided, the petitioner has requested a second reading of the bill, and there is information in your packet regarding the request, primarily because of the financing that's involved for the development. They need to get this recorded as soon as possible.
Okay. So are there any questions for Mr. Trejo?
No.
Anybody?
I do have one. Mr. Trejo, did you check with the applicant about including a city certification of acceptance of the subdivision on the plat?
Yes, I did.
And did they say that was not necessary?
No, they did not. They will have the acceptance on the revisions.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Right, so the city clerk needs to read this bill for the first time. Is that correct? Yes.
She has done so, has she not?
Yes.
Okay.
Managed.
So now I need a
Mayor,
motion.
make a motion to set aside ordinary rules to consider second reading.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, please poll the council. Wait, hold on. Don't poll the council yet. I need to open up a public hearing to set aside for the public to weigh in on setting aside the ordinary rules. All right, we have opened a public hearing. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on the council setting aside its ordinary rules to read bill number 2926 twice tonight? There is a question that's come in.
They haven't finished typing.
Okay.
To me, it looks like they did finish typing. They just put an extra T in there.
Okay, so the comment is that they don't think that this is good. I'm assuming a good idea. Would somebody like to address this, Mr. Trejo, or perhaps City Manager Sondag, and explain why we are reading this twice? Where did City Manager Sondag go?
He's muted.
She's
He's
muted.
I can.
Can you unmute? Oh, no, there you are. Barb?
I'd refer you to the last page in the document in there regarding the request.
Okay.
And again, you know, as we're trying to facilitate or provide services through current conditions. This is just one obstacle in terms of just getting the city to be able to obtain the original Mylar. After that, I will have to, have Mayor Springer contact you to coordinate the signing of that Mylar. Then I'll have to coordinate with the city clerk to obtain her signature of that Mylar along with the seal. And then we'll have to kind of work to see what opportunities at the county level will they provide to take in the plat. Right now with the current closures, I'm not sure what the conditions will be. Whatever it is, this gives us an opportunity to try to pursue those efficiently. This also is my understanding, part of they have closed on the properties. All 3 properties are now under the ownership of Ridge House. Part of the next step with their financing for construction is to have the plat completed, because currently 3 different properties under the same ownership do exist, but the proposed buildings will be straddling different lot lines and such. We do anticipate that they'll be applying for demolition permits within the next couple of weeks. I think there's one more disconnection that they need to do, and then they need to do some of the exterior asbestos removals. So, our goal is to try to facilitate and keep this project moving. It is an important project for our community, and trying to guide it through these times is important, just as it is in the Olive Crossing. These are 2 very important pieces of our catalyst strategy that we're trying to implement.
Okay.
Mayor, if I might,
Yes.
there is just one more comment from Tower Hill again. The Tower Hill residents, like myself, would not agree to that 2 readings should be done at the same time. And I told the resident I would note that to the council.
Okay. If there are no other questions, what I'd like to do is move out of the public hearing and come back into regular session, where I'd like the council to discuss this and then decide on a second whether we're going to move forward with the second vote or not. So we are closing the public hearing now, and we're moving back into regular session. Council, do you have comments? Do you have questions? Any comments?
I understand the reason for wanting to do this more quickly, given that it's hard to determine how long the subsequent steps of this process are going to take. We can't count on the normal turnaround of this from the standpoint of anything that happens after this. And so, again, we want to try to keep these developments from, encountering issues that are not normal, I guess, from this standpoint, so we can keep them moving along even during the COVID crisis. So that would be why I would be for going ahead for the second reading and voting tonight.
Anybody else? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I apologize.
No, that's fine. I was going to say, as far as the content of the bill itself, it needs to be done, whether it's tonight or 2 weeks from now. So,
Right.
Mayor, I just point out that it's council's well aware this is a complicated financing deal, and the construction financing, I believe the target date for closing is May 15th. If this gets put off until the first meeting in May, then I doubt very much they're going to be able to make that May 15th closing with all of the variables at place. There's a lot of moving parts, and this is the approval of the subdivision plat. It is pretty routine.
Is there anybody else that wants to make a comment? Otherwise, I'm going to ask for a vote. Hearing none, please poll the council on setting aside ordinary rules.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
Would the city clerk please read bill number 2696 for the second time?
Bill number 2926, an ordinance to approve a final subdivision plat titled City Center Redevelopment. Second reading.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Can you
Do-
do Ms.
Do
Brady?
we not have to set, do you,
We did that.
We did
We
that.
did that.
okay.
I just did that. And then we took the questions and then yeah. Yeah.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve Bill 2926, an ordinance to approve a final subdivision plat titled City Center Redevelopment.
I second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments, additional comments, questions, anything?
Mayor, I just point out that the document I'm looking at claims the bill's 2927, I believe.
Can we get some clarification, please?
It's
'Cause
2926 on the bill itself. On the memo, it says 2927.
Where?
Yeah, I see 20. It was flipped when I read it just before.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I might be looking at the Olive Crossing subdivision here.
Yeah, you're looking at the different one.
That's what I beg your pardon.
No worries. It's all good. Okay. If there are no other comments or questions, please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by action of the Olivette City Council. Bill number 2926 becomes ordinance number 2699.
Can I say one thing? Because of a comment I saw.
Yes, please do.
It was an issue about what the building's going to look like. And I just wanted to point out that this, because it was going to be a tall building next to Tower Hill. This particular bill does not authorize the building. It only authorizes the subdivision of the land. So nothing in this bill approves what goes on this land. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Councilman Carl. I think that's a very valid point, that this has nothing to do with that. This is housekeeping in terms of, and record keeping that has to go to the county. So, all right, we are going to move on to the next item, please.
Item number 13, bill number 2927, an ordinance to approve a final subdivision plat titled Olive Crossing Subdivision. First reading and request for second reading.
Mr. Trejo, is that who's going to do this?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mayor, Mayor Springer. Again, my name is Carlos Trejo. I am the Director of Planning and Community Development with the City of Olivette. And I have another final subdivision plat before the council for request for first reading and also a second reading request, only to show how common these requests are given the current conditions. This goes, it's kind of interesting because it's been 5 years. So October 27th, 2015, the city authorized a request for proposals to be released to redevelop what was at that point 12.5 acres of land near the southeast corner of I-170 and Olive Boulevard, at that time titled I-170 Interchange Gateway Redevelopment Project, in terms of redevelopment area. In April 2016, the city designated Keep Properties as the preferred developer. And back in last year, on September 24, 2019, through Ordinance 2675, the city approved the rezoning of the property grounds and created its first planned development district of the properties for the development that we see today. The initial property also included excess right-of-way, and that's why there's references to 14 acres when you add all the land around there. What this plat will do is consolidate the original 6 residential properties and 4 commercial properties that represented the I-170 Interchange Gateway Redevelopment Project, and also the excess right-of-way from the Missouri Department of Transportation that was along Olive, used to be the old Air Masters building, and some of the access way that gets you into the south side of Collingwood today. Then it reverts back excess right away for the improvements that will be conducted on Olive Boulevard and on Price Road, both to MoDOT and the city of Olivet, respectively. And then re-subdivide the ground into 6 lots that are still reflective to the redevelopment, the original 7 that were part of the master development plan that was approved under the PDD ordinance, which was 2675. So that's kind of in a nutshell what this is the legal instrument that will again erase the 6 existing residential lots that are on the property grounds, the 4 commercial properties boundaries that were also along Olive, and the excess right of way, and then converts it back to there. One of the reasons for the request on this too for the second reading is they are in the process of submitting final permit plans to the Missouri Department of Transportation for the Olive improvements, and this should be reflective of the new right of way that will be dedicated to MoDOT along Olive. So I'd be glad to answer any specific questions on this, Mayor.
Are there any questions for Mr. Trejo? Okay.
Mayor,
go
just
ahead.
so you know, the developer Greg Yowitz is on, and he's able to talk, and people can see him in case the council would have any questions for him.
Okay. Let's go about doing the business of setting aside the ordinary rules first. And then when we get a little further down, if anybody has questions for Greg, we'll get into that then.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to set aside ordinary rules and to consider a second reading.
Do I have a second?
Second.
That was
Was
Sydney.
that you? Okay, Sydney. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'm going to open up a public hearing so the public can comment on us setting aside our ordinary rules so that we can read this bill twice. So we are now in a public hearing. If there is anyone in the public who wishes to comment, please do so. And I'm going to wait about 40 seconds and see if anybody has anything that they want to share with us. I need to plug my computer back in. Okay.
I do not see anyone wishing to participate.
Okay.
Mayor.
We're going to come out of public hearing and back into regular session. Council, do you have any comments or questions about setting aside our ordinary rules?
Only that I would again add, this is only the subdivision plat. So again, it doesn't talk about what goes on the land, just how the land will be divided. So.
Okay, thank you for that clarification again. Hearing no comments or questions, please poll the council on setting aside ordinary rules.
Councilmember Weil?
Councilmember Weil, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Yes, yes, yes.
Councilmember Carl?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman?
Yes.
Chairman Clark?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Can you please read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2927, an ordinance to approve a final subdivision plat titled Olive Crossing subdivision. Second reading.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to adopt Bill 2927, an ordinance to approve a final subdivision plat titled Olivette Crossing subdivision.
Do I have a second? Anybody?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second, please.
All right. Are there any comments or questions that you would like to ask to Mr. Trejo or to Mr. Martin or to anyone?
I have a question.
Sure.
For Mr. Yowitz.
Oh, to Mr. Yowitz too.
Yes.
Is he unmuted?
Is he able to speak?
Yes.
Okay. I was asked by one of our constituents. In fact, I was asked a question twice about our project that we got going underway and it's going well, about minority participation in this $75 million project. The question they asked me, seeing that TIF money was being used to help get it started, had he considered any kind of percentage of minority-owned or women-owned participation in the project? I wasn't able to answer the question because I've never asked myself. So I wanted to ask Mr. Yowitz, is there any kind of set aside for minority-owned companies or women-owned organizations in this project?
Thank you, Councilmember Clark. Great question. I don't think at this point we have, put any sort of frame around a percentage. I mean, we're believers, my partner and I, in hiring the best people for the job. And Rusty's companies, the 10 of them that he has, some of them are actually woman-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses where he's not the majority owner, who may or may not participate as well as others. And so, I have friends who own MBEs and WBEs that we'll be eliciting proposals from. And so relative to the scope of the project, it's hard to put a frame around a specific percentage. However, much like my commitment many years ago that, this project was going to be union in a majority, we will seek the best qualified vendors as far as all trades go and do our best to involve as many people. And it's my hope that we would involve a number of WBEs and MBEs, not simply because they're MBEs or WBEs, but because they're qualified, they're great contractors. In my perfect world, they might be Olivette resident owned in a perfect world. And as we move toward the construction part of this, which we're still pretty far from, as far as vertical construction, where the majority of the dollars will be spent, then that's when we'll take a hard look at that.
Okay.
But I will talk with Rusty, my partner, about that to ensure that we have an eye on that as well.
Thank you for answering my question.
And I did want to just make a quick note. Mr. Carl's motion was for Olivette Crossing subdivision. It's actually Olive Crossing subdivision.
So amended.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions for Mr. Yowitz? Or any other comments or questions in general about this? Hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you, council.
Thank you.
Item number 14.
Item number 14, review and approval of minutes.
Did anybody see anything that needs to be addressed? All right, I'll entertain a motion then.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from March 24th, 2020.
A second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Next item.
Item number 15, hearing from citizens, part 2.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment, make a question, anything? Just going to give it some time.
Mayor, I do not see anyone
Okay, thank you for
Yes.
that.
indicating a wish to to speak.
Okay,
But
all right.
Barb, can we acknowledge that whoever did make a comment on that they did hear Councilmember Carl's explanation.
Yes, and they said said thanks for the explanation. Yeah.
All right, next item,
Item number 16, city attorney's report.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor, I have no report, but I would ask for a closed session for attorney-client communications, real estate matters, and personnel matters under subsection 1, 2, and 3 of section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right. Council is going to adjourn to closed session.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for participating.
Thank you.
Can we have a moment to use the restroom?
Absolutely. And that'll give everyone else.
Got to do it like a fighter pilot.
Well, that'll give everyone else.
And I can say there will be no, I don't, actually,
Did I do something wrong?
no. Does the council expect there to be action taken after the closed session? Because then I could let participants know.
I don't anticipate anything. I'm not going to ask you for a vote on anything.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Do I think? I don't, I guess that would be hard to say.
Okay. If there would be, we could notify, we could put it on the website tomorrow, if any action that was taken after the closed session.
Okay.
Okay. Then just so people who are still hearing can do that because it's yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And if they wanted to, they can't really stay. They'd have to come back on, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
asked a question to Greg Gallowitz about minority participation, and the answer was no.
Hey,
What?
we can hear you.
I was actually talking to myself.
Oh, okay. You don't need to admit that.
I tend to do that often. So I'm
You
holding
do
it.
not need to admit that. I thought you were talking on the phone. I'm sorry.
I could leave.
I accidentally left the thing on, so I thought you might hear me like yelling through the house that it's freezing in here. No.
You still have, I still show some
Yes.
attendees. Okay.
We have to log off and go.
We don't anticipate any more discussion or activity on any of tonight's agenda items, and so I will be, if there is any action taken after the closed session, we will be reporting on that tomorrow on the website. Okay. Greg Yowitz is
Are you the one deleting these people?